For Nehru, religion as a category is just not worth engaging with.
So what we see now with the BJP is also the consequence of many of Nehru's policies.
What is your take on this whole idea of sab Nehru ki galti hai?
I think in a way this is a backhanded compliment.
We felt the way in which the Indian Constitution turned out contained debates that are not directly linked to the conversations that are happening in the Constituent Assembly. Then we thought, where do these debates take place? And we found that they take place throughout the life of one of the primary constitutional fathers of the Indian Constitution, Nehru, and we find that they come into being through his interactions with key leaders in the run-up to the foundation of the Indian Republic, and then in the decades that sort of go on and transform the Constitution to what it is today. There was genuine respect that Nehru had, as he respected everybody from that generation of Indian leaders. I think that disagreements, and there were many disagreements, primarily came from the time when Nehru tried to understand the problems of Indian Muslims through his specific lens, which of course had instances of specific secularism and socialism, and he tried to understand the problems of Indian Muslims through that lens, and he wanted Jinnah to lead him through that. Jinnah gets more and more frustrated with Nehru as years go by. Initially, he thinks that Nehru is maybe mocking him. So maybe he's just refusing to acknowledge that there is such a thing as a communal outlook to the way in which India's economic problems could even be could alleviated. And on the other hand, he's also thinking that Nehru may have risen through the ranks of the Congress party too quickly. He sees Nehru as some type of spoiled brat who is catapulted into the sort of higher ranks of the Indian National Congress.
For Nehru, religion as a category is just not worth engaging with. And so he just assumes it's something that will go away. And that assumption never leaves him. So that underpins his conversation with Jinnah. And then even after what happens in partition, actually, that assumption never leaves him, because he thinks, okay, now that we've had partition, but it's not a category worth engaging with. It's just the basic problem is economic, and the basic solution to that economic problem is socialism.
Jinnah is acknowledging a specific fact about Indian society. He looks around and he sees that people structure their lives according to religious rituals. Nehru looks at this and he sees that, well, in order to alleviate poverty, religion doesn't really play a specific factor. So I do think that the end game for both of them was the same. So both wanted to alleviate poverty that had been caused by a couple of centuries of colonialism. And then later on, he abandons the Constitution. He doesn't believe that the Constitution will be able to protect the Indian Muslim minority. And then he says that the only thing that can is a state structure that is majoritarian. And not taking religious identity seriously, as he did for the 17 years that he ruled, also led to the rise of a new party, which was outspokenly identitarian. So what we see now with the BJP is also the consequence of many of Nehru's policies. and Nehru's ideas. And it's a specific form of backlash. If one looks at other post-colonial heroes, so people who've made countries and constitutions, they all dip into dictatorship and authoritarianism a couple of years down the line. And if one says that these are the people we should be comparing Nehru to, he does exceptionally well.
Nehru's greatest success was the sort of transference of power, and the fact that he did not need to essentially dip into dictatorship.
And to Lal Bahadur Shastri, not to his daughter.
True.
What is your take on this whole idea of sab Nehru ki galti hai that goes on social media these days?
That's obviously not true. That everything is a consequence of Nehru's sort of mistakes. Many of which were also genuine mistakes, right? It's not this sort of caricature of Nehru as a complete villain is just that. It's a caricature. I think in a way this is a backhanded compliment. You're effectively saying this man single-handedly shaped the country.
What would you think his message would have been to his great-grandchildren who are struggling to stay afloat in this country?
The political strategist Prashant Kishore made a statement saying the BJP is here to stay, and Rahul Gandhi's problem is that he doesn't acknowledge it. In some ways, that reminds me in many ways of what Nehru does, is that the way he approaches the communal question or the way he approaches China. I mean, the basic assumption is completely off the mark, but at no point, even when things go wrong, does that, is that questioned. Nehru was actually a very formidable politician. We can't forget that. Nehru had an instinctive, I guess, grasp of how power was wielded and could be acquired or buttressed. And I think that's probably one of the lessons he would have taught to his descendants.